in this video I will show you Palo Alto Firewall lab setup. So this is our lab topology. We have HQ firewall in the middle and it's connected to WAN. Okay, this is a WAN, and you know this is a pfSense to provide two different ISP, internet service provider, 192.168.1 and 192.168.2, WAN 1 and WAN 2. So interface 1/1 and 1/2 are connected to ISP 1 and ISP 2 of the HQ firewall. 1/3 is connected to LAN subnet and 1/4 is connected to DMZ. And this is a management interface for management purpose to access this firewall. Now we have a DMZ zone, we have a LAN zone, we have a WAN 1 and WAN 2 zone, and we have a management subnet. And the management, we have Panorama and we have Active Directory. We're gonna use this server 2016 for different purpose: Active Directory, DNS, NTP, authentication server, Radius server, and for many other purpose. In the LAN, I connected a taker which is Kali Linux. Even though it has to be outside, we can connect them to the cloud later on as well to attack on the LAN side and DMZ. In the DMZ, we will create two sub interfaces. 1/4 will be divided into sub interfaces, VLAN 40 and VLAN 50. So we have two different server and different zone, server 1 and 10.0.4 and server 2 10.0.5. And DMZ switch, we will create two different VLAN and this interface will be trunk. So they can carry the traffic for VLAN 40 and VLAN 50. In the LAN, we have window 11 for authentication purpose, and we're gonna use for basic browsing Linux Slake. So this PC3 and PC2 is Linux Slakes and PC1 is window 11. These switches are just for connectivity purpose. However, here we will create VLAN. And this is a management cloud to access this firewall in my browser. So the management subnet, it will be different in your case. This is the only thing which will be different in your case. Keep in mind, the rest of the thing you can keep the same. Internal subnet is 10.0.1, DMZ is 10.0.4, DMZ is 10.0.5, head office ISP subnet is 192.168.1 and 2. Main cloud is 172 because I connect my cloud. This one you can connect your own. Active Directory IP will be 100.230. The HQ firewall IP address will be 100.200. Management subnet I'm using 192.168.100. Panorama IP will be 100.250. Domain name will be test.local, and we will create two VLAN. So these are the IP schema for this topology. Okay. And let's go to the Palo Alto firewall image we're gonna use in the lab is the latest one, Palo Alto version 11. Panorama will be version 11.1. Cisco switch I will use layer 2 this image for connectivity and VLAN. Windows 11 will be as a client. Windows Server 2016 for multiple purpose is a Active Directory, NTP, Radius, etc. pfSense I'm using for multiple WAN connectivity. For normal browsing, we're gonna use Linux Slake as a client. Web server, I'm using TinyCore. These two web server which are in the DMZ zone. After that, for internet, I'm using cloud. You can use management cloud to get the internet. So for 80% lab, we're gonna use the same topology. For 20%, we will change the topology. Okay, so this is our lab topology. And if we go here, so this is our lab. I just connect this firewall. If I right click and go to edit, so what I done, I changed the name to HQ. This is Palo Alto version 11 image, okay, which we upload previously. And I keep the RAM, the default one. You can increase and decrease. CPU is 2 and 6 interfaces. I keep console VNC, but you can change them to telnet as well. Okay. And then I connect interface 1 to WAN and 1/2 to WAN 2. Similarly, 1/4 to DMZ switch, 1/3 to LAN switch, and management to management switch. Okay, and this is Panorama connected to here, and this is the Active Directory. So this is basically Windows Server 2016 R2 which we previously upload. And I changed the icon, and this is the RAM, and only one interface we are using, which connected to management switch. And these are the IP schema. This is also management cloud, so that I can access this firewall in my browser, also to Panorama in my browser, also to take remote desktop to this server. So that's why I want this management cloud to access firewall, Panorama, and Active Directory directly in my host machine. This attacker is basically Kali Linux. I'm using Linux 2022. You can use any version for the attack purpose. And here PC1, as I say, if I right click, this is Windows 11 I'm using. And I change the icon to desktop, and this is the RAM setting. These PC3 and PC2 is basically Linux Lake, which we upload previously, okay, for normal connectivity and browsing purpose. And this is the switch we upload previously. I'm using this switch. You can use any switch. This WAN is basically a pfSense with 6 interfaces, keep in mind. Okay, even though I'm not using other 3 interfaces, but still when you drag them, there will be 6 interfaces. This server 1 and server 2 is a ready-made Linux tiny core, which I already share. You just need to download, unzip, and drag them and use them as a web server. I already make them as a SSH server, FTP server, web server. You don't need to do anything with the same setting. 1 interface, 4096 RAM, 2 CPU. Okay, and this is the NIC naming. And also this is also the Linux tiny core as a web server and the DMZ. Okay, so this is our topology. Here I will connect later on another Linux Lake to access this DMZ server from external, because we will test them destination net. We will do some attack on this server. So for that purpose, I need external one system to connect them to the cloud. So you can connect many systems to the cloud, and then you can access these services from the outside. Okay. Also, we will connect later on attacker here to attack on these 2 servers as well. And then we will protect them in our HQ firewall. So you get the idea. I just connect these devices to each other. You don't need to do all these from the scratch. As I say, I will export this topology. You just need to import the topology and your EVE-NG and start work on it straight away. And this is the IP schema. So when 1 is 1, this is 2, LAN is 10.0.1. Okay, management is 192.168.100. DMZ we have 2 zone, 10.0.4 and 10.0.5. That's it. It's so simple. And here we assign them 1.2 IP, 1.1 IP, 1.3 and 1.20. Similarly, here we have 4.1 and here we have 5.2. That's it. So this is the way to set up a lab and EVE-NG.